You're listening to the Dave Sposito Show with Molly Allen on News Radio 920 KXLY.
And just like that, we're back. We say, welcome to the show now. Welcome to the show. Yeah, we're just getting started.
Sometimes things get a little crazy around here. Doors are being slammed, people are talking, things are happening, but, you know, we had to give you the information about Cap Day. I think we've done that.
Yeah.
People know. It's a good cause. We love it. Now on with the show.
On with the show. This is pretty interesting. This guy, I believe, has been with us on our other show before.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an amazing concept. And before you dismiss it, listen to the logic of what it is. Speech can be analyzed backwards.
Right.
And I know that sounds crazy, but it really, we'll let our guests sort of explain it. John Kelly is with us, and he is an expert in this kind of stuff. And we thought we'd have him on and talk about the George W. Bush inauguration speech.
Yes.
And then maybe pick up on a few other things. So welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Let's start with, there's going to be some skeptics, people that haven't heard you on with us before, and they're going to say, what do you mean backward speech? What is this? Give us, tell us why this works and why it's important and why people shouldn't be so skeptical.
Well, I think, the bottom line is, our ears are the best judge of what qualifies as speech or not. Audio engineers who test speech intelligibility over radio systems and so on use human listeners and human speakers to identify our words being clearly conveyed or not. They believe that the human ear is the most sensitive instrument that's available to identify speech. We've been listening for speech since we were like infants in the womb, so we are actually all our own expert. And what we'll be listening for is the audible clarity of what I present this morning. Is it clear? Is it identifiable? The most important thing. Beyond that, my personal opinion about why there is speech hidden backwards in our communication, I think that when we conceive voice communications, it's done holistically, deep within the mind. It's much like the great composers who can, in a flash of inspiration, conceive of a whole symphonic work, 72 different parts all going at once with many aspects and dimensions. When speech is listened to normally, we hear it linearly, delivered sequentially, one word at a time. But this is deceptive because, in fact, I believe that we grasp the whole concept at once. It's the limitation of the body that we can only express one word at a time. And yet, if we use instruments, recording tools, and so on to evaluate that communication, we can perceive the additional aspects, additional dimensions to speech, and they, in fact, contain real, tangible information that we can hear.
And you have not only broken down the George W. Bush speech, but all throughout history, famous quotes, famous speeches, different pieces of audio. You've broken them down, played them backwards, and you get amazing results.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I focus really more on current material because of, as you say, people want to hear broadcast quality audio. If we go back to Thomas Edison and so on, with wax cylinder recordings, you can get speech patterns out of that, but the presentation quality of it is not superior to current broadcast material. So I'm constantly staying on top of the news as much as I can. Plus, working with private clients. One of the great ways to prove this is for us to all have the opportunity to hear our own voice start to express backwards. You see, someone could say, well, it's just random patterns of speech. It's meaningless. And yet, what I find consistently is that people do convey emotions and insights that can be proved to be factual. People, what do you say? The level of disclosure that takes place when we start to use this technology is very intense for people, and that's what they report.
All right, let's get right into it. You recorded the George W. speech on Saturday, and what were you able to get out of it that others couldn't?
Oh, I don't know how. Yeah, what others couldn't. Well, I don't. It's probably more like there's not so many people like me available to study this, and yet we're going to get some information that maybe wasn't apparent to anybody, and I think maybe very important as well. There's 3 clips I have here.
Okay.
And when we put them together, they tell a story. So we'll play them one at a time and see if we can put the pieces together. What does this all mean?
Okay.
Here's George W.
We will defend our allies and our interests. We will show purpose without arrogance.
Okay, so no arrogance in the new administration. And yet when we play it in reverse, can you hear him say, Super Bush?
Super Bush. Super Bush. Super Bush.
Yeah?
Yeah?
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? So the words Bush and super implying, some feeling very empowered.
Yes.
Was it the first part of our story? Let's go to the next clip. What's going on?
We will confront weapons of mass destruction so that a new century is spared new horrors. The enemies of liberty in our country should make no mistake.
Okay, the enemies of the country, watch out. And what is he stating inside of his speech? Can you hear him say, get someone?
Yes, someone. Yes, someone. Yes, someone.
We can hear that?
Yeah. No. What is that? Get someone. What is that the reverse of?
Phonetically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, I can open up the audio editor and we can see that it's just embedded in the speech. Now, just take me a second. I'll pull it up. We can do that together. Okay. So, the question is, have I synthesized this, pasted one thing from another to create this? And definitely not. I can show to you momentarily just through the audio editor that, in fact, that expression was embedded in the natural speech, the phrase, the 6 or 7 second phrase that I just played. Let me quickly.
Oh, I see. All right.
Let me quickly do that, and we'll play it. This is sort of in my world. I sit up here and I spent all this time listening to backwards recordings, and so we're going to do that together. And I'm going to take the portion now. This was the natural speech. I'll play a little bit of it so we recognize it.
We will confront weapons of mass destruction.
Okay, so we're going to take that clip now. That's 10 seconds. I'm going to play it backwards at 100%. Let's see if we can hear him say "get someone." It's a clip. It's a very quick clip. It's in there.
Yes, someone.
Well, there it was right at the beginning. You can hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Get someone.
Right.
Yeah, right at the very end of his speech. So it's just embedded there. I didn't put it there. I observed it. And so,
right.
Interestingly enough, it's just a natural part of the way we communicate. It's not voluntary. It's not voluntary. It's just when people listen to me, I throw in extra words. I talk funny. I mean, I'm a Canadian. I can't help myself. But
So you think it's just part of you're not thinking that people purposely put these messages in. It's just the way that they speak, and it says something about what their true intentions are.
It's from a deeper place than the ego or the conscious awareness.
Right.
So they're not contrived. In other words, they're authentic, and that's I think what the important point is. It really gives us some really interesting insight into what's going on in the mind of the individual, what they believe, what they feel, what they may not be willing to express otherwise.
Now, so when he says "get someone," and the proper phrase in that speech was talking about foreign threats. Could that be Saddam Hussein then? Maybe is he talking about a specific person?
Or is he saying, "Get me somebody to help me"?
Well, this is a very good question. And so why don't we go to part 3 of this little storytelling, the third clip.
Okay.
Let's see if this will just clarify the whole issue.
And to all nations, we will speak for the values that gave our nation birth.
Okay, values that gave our nation birth. So tied in with our first 2 clips, Super Bush will get someone. Can you hear him say, mission of Baghdad?
Mission of Baghdad. Mission of Baghdad. Mission of Baghdad.
Wow. And that is, what is Mission of Baghdad the reverse of?
Okay, hold on a sec. Let me open up the editor again. We'll grab that. So yeah, embedded within the speech, this theme, Mission of Baghdad. Very interesting, of course, because the word Baghdad is recognizable as a actual factual geographic location. It's a coordinate. He's identifying, factual information, and that we can all recognize that.
But if you said Baghdad, what word was he saying?
Let's take that portion where it appeared.
That gave our nation.
That gave our nation. When that's played backwards, becomes Mission of Baghdad.
Mission of Baghdad.
In this particular case, now this phenomenon is not related. It's not palindromes. It's not word for word. If great actors go into the studio to read from a script, Mel Gibson and Clint Eastwood and Harrison Ford all read the same printed words. Would they give the same reading? And the answer is no. We're the individual expression that contains spontaneous characteristics that participate in forming these expressions. And so the printed words, give our nation, is just the starting point. It's the characteristics of the speaker that influence the formation of these backwards expressions. And so, again, pointing out that the word Baghdad is a factual piece of data. It's a name of a place. The names of places, the names of people, all of these things appear. I have many examples. But, of course, the most important thing for me is I get to sit down from time to time, of course, not with the George Bushes of the world, but with private individuals who come to me to work through relationship, career, emotional issues. And we find just startling details that just are not available through any other means.